One of the best parts about being in a metal band is that you don't have to win a Grammy Award to necessarily showcase your dominance or really be considered one of the best within the genre. However, if you do get the nod from the Grammy committee, whether it be in America or abroad, it is certainly a nice notch in order to place on right by your bedpost, something to add to your shelf, either that or something that is nice to add to your belt loop. Megadeth is a band that has been active for a long time, since the 1980s, and has had many powerful tracks, not to mention powerful albums that have really showcased what thrash metal has been able to do. Dave and the boys here in 2017, in fact a very few short days from now, have the potential to cement their legacy, at least in the eyes of some, by winning a Grammy Award here at the 2017 Grammys. But this is a video where we're going to examine the reason why I don't think that Dave and Company and Megadeth are going to win the Grammy for Best Metal Performance for Dystopia, and why that's actually not a bad thing. So let's take a look. Now, as far as being in a band is concerned, the Grammy Award seems like it should be your titular goal, something that you're aiming to really get to, and really, if you win it, then more power to you. But with Megadeth, there's been a lot of conversation over the past couple of months about how they feel that, at times, that they've been a bit snubbed by the Grammy committee. This is something that has been really stated a lot by Dave Mustaine, and the other members of the band have not necessarily corroborated this idea, but have instead spoken about how kind of cool it would be if the band were to be able to really take the Grammy home whenever the award ceremony takes place. Now, last year, whenever it came to this event, it was something that was won by the band Ghost, and it didn't even make it onto the actual show. Does this really matter? Last year it certainly felt like it did, considering it felt like heavy metal was getting the snub whenever country music was getting a whole entire category dedicated to it, and they had their own award ceremony. Why should they even be there? But either way, whether it's something that occurs on a pre-show or something that does happen live, heavy metal's representation has not completely disintegrated from the Grammy Awards whatsoever. However, with Megadeth, one of the main reasons they may not win is simply the competition that they have surrounding them. Unlike other categories that have Beyoncé in them, which seems to almost guarantee that something as screwy is going to occur, this is one that's actually filled with some pretty darn good music. Baroness's Shock Me, Gojira's Silveria, Korn's Rotting in Vain, and Periphery's The Price is Wrong. Now, you might laugh at Korn, but Rotting in Vain, not to mention a grand deal of the first half of The Serenity of Suffering, was absolutely excellent. It was almost like Korn revisiting some of their older material and their older selves in order to create and craft an album that had that spontaneous energy, but also a little bit of streetwise smarts from being veterans in the business. Shock Me came from an album for Baroness that just absolutely crushed it, not to mention the big chorus stays within your head and it really just feels like a blinding representation that this sort of hybrid metal that we've been talking about for a while on this channel is certainly poised to sort of take over, and getting that Grammy representation, that nod, is certainly huge to Baroness's career, whether they win it or not. With Gojira, they've been highly regarded within heavy metal circles for years, and now getting the nod here at the Grammys because of a song off of Magma, which was seen as a huge disc, a very personal disc in 2016, is a huge thing. And Periphery's The Price is Wrong is no slouch either, coming off of really a comeback album after the disappointment of their double album Cycle Juggernaut from 2 years prior. So the competition is just absolutely huge. Each one of these tracks is actually kind of, worthy of gaining this title. But it's one that I think that Megadeth, even though Dystopia is a killer track that has a lot of good things going for it, may just fall short. And I actually really like one of the sleepers in this genre, and that's actually Shock Me by Baroness. I think that's the song that may eventually get the nod if Korn doesn't end up just stealing it from under the rug simply based on name value alone, which would actually leave Dave and the boys snubbed once again. But it's actually okay. Dave and the boys can always have that internal chip on their shoulder whenever it comes to the Grammy committee. I can guarantee you that it's going to make for a couple of really interesting sound bites that we'll no doubt talk about, and, that'll cause a little bit of a mini, narcoleptic shock or, cataplasy. It's just going to cause conversation and just brew a bunch of brouhaha. I feel like I should be a Milwaukee Brewer. Either which way, this is something that gives a lot of sort of I guess, conversation piece. But also it gives the opportunity for a band that is perhaps a little bit more youthful in their career to have that moment to shine, and maybe it will better showcase heavy metal as it's going forward, as opposed to just continuously digging into heavy metal's past in order to really represent greatness. Ghost last year was able to help heavy metal really reach new levels and new heights, considering this was a band that had only been about 6 years removed since their debut album, and here they were winning a Grammy Award. With a band such as Baroness, either that or Gojira, it'd be a little bit longer than that, but either way, it still shows that heavy metal as a genre not only is evolving, but also these bands are evolving and really showcasing and flexing their muscles very quickly. And that should be something that, even though they got snubbed, that Megadeth should be extremely proud of. All of these bands certainly have a certain amount of worthiness. Now, some may actually argue that Korn's worthiness is kind of questionable, that maybe this should be in the best rock instead of the best metal department. I think a lot of people read into this just a little bit too much. Korn being on here would also be very good for heavy metal if they were to happen to be victorious, even though it would feel, for the larger part of the metal community, that true metal got the snub. A big name like this could actually encourage that all of these names are uttered on the main show instead of some pre-show. And that would be something that's, even if they didn't emerge victorious, these other bands could really benefit from just by getting their name out there. What I would really like to see in the future is the Grammys reconsider their notion based off of heavy metal, because you have best metal performance here, but you do not have best metal album. Now, I understand that this will no doubt just cause even more rampant bickering, not to mention just a bunch of bitching around the real purposes of metal fans, rock fans, etc. fans, and it serves to over-clutter the Grammys, but there's a pre-show for that, come on. This is still something that shows that maybe there is some proving ground that's being really purpose-filled within this journey in order to maybe get it back up to that level. Either way, I don't feel that it's important for Megadeth to win this Grammy to really cement their careers. I feel that some of the conversation that has been mentioned about this is actually right on par to where their sort of assumptions lie, either that or where their feelings lie. That it would be neat if it happened, but it's not necessarily the cornerstone of their lives. Dave being the only one, Dave Mustaine, that really seems to have an obsession with perhaps coming off on top, and really, you can kind of understand that. Nobody likes to lose. Everybody likes to win. And plus, to have one of those on your trophy case, right next to the gold albums, would certainly be a very impressive feat. Either way, I think that heavy metal has a good represented category this year. So whether it shows up on the pre-show like last year, or if it shows up on the main event whenever Sunday night comes, this is still going to be a positive for heavy metal, and it's actually going to be something where we won't be talking about it after the fact in a very upset tone based around something that's happened. Well, what about you? Do you think that it's important that Dave Mustaine and Megadeth win a Grammy? And if you don't think so, why is it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Cover Killer Nation, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.